Hello. How's it going, people? Welcome to the stream. Welcome. I'm here. We're here tomorrow. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. UK time. It's the big one. It is the big one. Second leg between Arsenal and Real Madrid. This time we are facing them at Santiago Bernabeu, which obviously is a big worry because most of our players have never experienced it. They don't know what's it like, how it is, how it's gonna go, where it's gonna lead, and there are still lots and lots of questions to be answered in this regard. So for today on the agenda we have Real Madrid vs Arsenal match preview. Of course, I'm gonna check if there has been Mikel Arteta pre-Real Madrid press conference. We're gonna look at that. We're gonna see what he has said before we play at Bernabeu, of course, and then we're gonna look at some transfer news, transfer rumors, bits and bobs here or there, and then of course we're gonna make some final conclusions, some predictions, and all that stuff. So if you're excited about the stream, smash the like button if you haven't already, subscribe if you are new around here, and of course, leave your thoughts down in the live chat or in comments below if you're watching this as a playback, so we can discuss this, because I answer to pretty much every single comment I get, so we can definitely get some interaction going in that regard. But as I said, what we're kicking things off, it's Arsenal versus Real Madrid. 3-0 in the first leg. Big up Kwame. Big up my guy. Big up. Still predicting 0-0 for tomorrow. Totally understand. I absolutely understand it. But yeah, tomorrow is the big one. Arsenal versus Real Madrid at Bernabeu. There have been lots of talks, lots of reports regarding what Real Madrid are doing, because they are apparently releasing emotional video to basically boost the morale. They're closing the roof of the stadium, so the whole emotions, all the chants, everything stays within the stadium, just to make it a bit more intimidating. Let's just put it that way, of course. And obviously, the longer it stays 0-0, the more it favors us, to some extent. Let's not kid ourselves, to some extent, because fans gonna get on Real Madrid's players back, so they're gonna feel the pressure, and they will be under more pressure to perform. Main thing for me for that game is not to concede, basically. Tomorrow, obviously, not to concede in general, but not to concede in the first 10 to 20 minutes. That for me, to some extent, is the key aspect of the game. Solely because after that, everything can go south real quick. We all have seen Real Madrid score 2-3 goals on the bounce in span of 5 minutes, in span of 15 minutes. So definitely there is still the threat that Real Madrid can do some stuff. There's still some threat that Real Madrid can get back into it, because Real Madrid is Real Madrid, Bernabeu is Bernabeu. But obviously that doesn't diminish the fact that Arsenal annihilated them at the Emirates 3-0. That is the big thing for this, for everything happening in tomorrow's game. There are lots of things. Chouameni is back for Real Madrid. Camavinga obviously is not playing because of the red card. He would still not even be playing because he got a second yellow. But one thing I expect tomorrow, and specifically from Real Madrid, is to apply pressure. There were reports that Ancelotti has made some very insanely massive speech to players in the training ground before today, that he was asking them to put extra effort into training, into games, to pass, to press, add extra effort from everyone. Because we saw at the Emirates that Mbappe wasn't pressing as much, Rodrigo wasn't pressing as much, of course Vinicius Jr. as well, and especially when we scored the first goal, to some extent their hands basically dropped. They didn't know what to do, their heads dropped as well. That I think also the setup that Ancelotti chose was not good. Arsenal basically dismantled them, because for some reason Ancelotti played just from injury comeback David Alaba as a left back. To help him, he played Jude Bellingham as a left mid. Is that ever gonna work? No, it's not. They were playing right back, they were playing everything. Midfield of Camavinga and Modric obviously didn't work because Camavinga half the time had to basically back up Luka Modric to basically defend. And that basically left them very open. Arsenal spread the ball wide. Real Madrid tried to press, but it was unsuccessful because they didn't, at any time during the game, never fully committed to it. Arsenal were on it since first minute. It should have been about 5-6 nothing to some extent as well. Courtois was on certain levels standing on his head. It took 3 moments of brilliance from Arsenal, specific moments, key moments, to make it 3 nothing. Obviously, other chances we created from open play even, Courtois made the saves, right? The question is, can we replicate that at the Bernabeu? Now, I would say straight answer is no, to some extent, because Real Madrid is gonna go for us, exactly, just like Kwame is saying. Real Madrid will be coming at us, but it's up to us to be focused and not to concede, and that is the biggest thing. Real Madrid will apply every single ounce of pressure they can imagine. It's gonna come from players, it's gonna come from the manager theirs, it's gonna come from the fans, and of course we cannot discredit the aura, the stadium where we're gonna play. It's Santiago Bernabeu, let's be real. So definitely there is lots of riding on everything. And let's be real, if Real Madrid somehow clawed their way back into this game, it's not looking good. Because, yes, are Real Madrid vulnerable? Yes, they are. Do I think there's a possibility that Arsenal are going to score at Bernabeu? Yes, I still believe for that as well. Because especially if we score the first goal and it's 4-0, I would say Real Madrid is out. Because I kind of believe that Arsenal would not be so much shaking in their boots that they would basically screw up a 4-0 lead. Let's just put it that way. Even 4-1 lead. Especially if Real Madrid score, Arsenal answer pretty quickly, basically sell the nerves and everything, it's fantastic. However, we all saw that Emirates as well, in the first few minutes, there were some mistakes from our players. Kivior, Skelly, Rice as well, everyone, quite a few players, not everyone, quite a few players made some unforced errors to some extent, and basically that's what from Real Madrid created all the chances. They created chances not from open play, not by their skill or anything. They created chances from our own mistakes. Besides that, we didn't allow them to do much. Vinicius tried a few step overs, Timber had him pocketed instantly. Right? Rodrigo tried it against Skelly, didn't happen. Kivior was also quite fantastic in that game, credit where credit is due. Saliba definitely stepped up his game for that. For that quarterfinal, so definitely every single player stepped up massively, to say the least. So now the next question is, can we replicate that to any extent? Because if we totally forget our game plan, Real Madrid score early, because we all know that Real Madrid can score goals like that, and they can score 2-3 goals just like job done, 3-3. So we need to be on our guards. I'm not saying we should park the bus. I'm not saying we should sit back. But we should definitely try and play our own game. We cannot afford to invite the pressure. We cannot afford to give them the possession and see what happens and try to catch them out on counters. Because for me personally, that is the recipe for disaster in that game. So definitely that will be absolutely insane, to say the least. I genuinely hope Arsenal don't screw this up. Because if we ball this 3-0 lead, if we screw this up, there is no way back from Mikel Arteta. Let's just put it that way. Because, let's be real, there's a massive part of the fan base that still believe in Arteta, give him one more season, give him the signings and everything. There is also a chunk of the fan base that think he should be sacked. But there is also that middle part of the fan base that are currently on the fence about this situation. Because they still kind of trust in him. At the same time, they start to ask questions about the signings, about the depth of the team, about performances specifically in Premier League as well, disregarding some cups and all these situations, about the tactics sometimes, about substitutions sometimes. They're starting to ask questions. And in any circumstance that if we screw this up to the maximum extent, the worst case scenario, right? This will cause a massive crack, I would believe so, in the fan base. And that is something, as much as you all know, most likely, I think Arteta, under Arteta, we are not gonna win anything. If we win Champions League this year, I will sit here with my hands up high, genuinely, having whiskey, having everything, I will say, credit where credit is due to Mikel Arteta. Basically built him a statue outside the Emirates, because he has done that no Arsenal manager has ever managed to do. Win us the Champions League. Let's be real. But at the end of the day, it's still far, far long away. So Kwame's lineup for the game against Real Madrid: Raya, Timber, Saliba, White, MLS. So you wouldn't start Kivior, which is a very interesting choice, given the fact that Mikel Arteta, I don't think he will mind starting Kivior based on how he performed against Real Madrid in the first game. And second of all, there is this, I don't want to say it's an unwritten rule, but it definitely sticks to many managers these days and in general, that winners don't change their squads. That is the big thing. Winners don't change their squads. So that is also, that comes into play. Now the other thing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So Timber, Saliba, White, MLS. Midfield of what? Kwame, you have midfield of Rice, Martinelli, Odegaard at the moment. That for me is a very questionable midfield, let's just put it that way. Saka, Merino, Trossard. I assume you mean Merino in the midfield and Martinelli on the left, Trossard down the middle. That would be your lineup for the game. However, there is big news regarding this, because today in the training, and I kid you not, today in the training, there have been seen Ben White, who has been in the training, and more importantly, Thomas Partey has been seen in the training. He's traveling with the squad to Spain, and he is going to face Real Madrid a bit later on. He's traveling to Spain, which basically, he was the player who was under the biggest of the biggest question marks for Arsenal currently in the team. Because his performance against Real Madrid, at the Emirates at least, was sublime. Was perfect to some extent. Let's be real. Clean sheet, dictating the game and everything, tackles, passes. He did everything. And that is Thomas Partey I would love to see every single game. He has managed to avoid injuries throughout this whole season. And you can definitely put in a very strong argument for him being the midfielder of the season for Arsenal if we gave some sort of a nomination like that. He was the midfielder of the season. Obviously, Rice with those 2 goals has kind of massively closed the gap. But ultimately, Thomas Partey is in the training, and there is a big possibility that he is starting tomorrow against Real Madrid. Now obviously there are still the biggest question still for me remains how Arsenal are going to respond to the pressure of Bernabeu, because there is this stat that Arsenal haven't conceded more than 3 goals for about 460 days since Luton through a 4-3 win. But it's Luton as well, let's not kid ourselves, it is just Luton to some extent. We have never faced a team like Real Madrid in Champions League. But this is a very interesting stat basically, that really caught my eye. This season in Champions League specifically, and this is from Arsenal, we have conceded less than a goal per game. We are ranked 2nd in the Champions League for that, and that is only behind Inter Milan, who have conceded 3 goals the whole tournament, which seems wild as it is, but yeah. XG, as much as I don't think XG is the main metric you should go off, we have conceded the least amount of XG against us in this Champions League campaign. We have also conceded the least amount of shots this season in Champions League. And to add on top of that, the least amount shots on target, which basically speaks the volumes how solid and how rock steady our defense has been this season. Yes, you could say that massive chunk to that goes also to Gabriel, because for me, he has been the player of the season for Arsenal, despite the injury he's having right now, and he's not back till next season. He still, for me, is the player of the season thus far. Obviously, it could change given the circumstances, but for now, he definitely is. Big credit goes to him in that regard. Can we basically remain this highly ranked in all these stats without Gabriel? That for me is the big thing. Here we go. Prophet. Hopefully this prophecy doesn't come true, but he's prophesizing, if I'm not mistaken, that Real Madrid are gonna beat Arsenal for nothing. Whether it's in extra time, whether it's in regular time, remains to be seen, of course, if that came to tuition. For me, the biggest thing is, if we lose 4-0 in the regular time against Real Madrid, it looks 10 times worse. Because let's be real, at Emirates also, first half was 0-0, in the second half it was 3-0. So if we can score 3 goals in one half, there's definitely a very strong argument you can put for Real Madrid scoring 3 goals in one half. Yes, in La Liga, they haven't performed very good. They struggled against Alves, they lost to Leganés, they struggled against pretty much most of the teams. They also been annihilated by Barcelona 2 times, and everything. It's not as easy for them as it used to be. At the same time, they're only 4 points off. Only 4, by the way, off Barcelona, who are, based on everyone, absolutely flying in La Liga and in general. So, obviously, it doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you get there at the end of the day. Real Madrid have 2 big massive focuses. Well, technically 3. They have Copa del Rey. They have, obviously, La Liga, and they have also Champions League. After the season, it's Club World Cup, but in this instance, this is irrelevant to this statement. But yeah, Real Madrid are still fighting on all fronts for everything. And it will be very interesting to see what they put out tomorrow and what team they put out tomorrow. Because the first inkling of how Real Madrid are going to do things, what they're going to do, how they're going to do, and why they're going to do it will basically stem from the fact what starting 11 they put out. Because I can also see, I can see this happening, right? Real Madrid still going with certain formation and, for example, dropping Rodrigo, for example. Remember how it was last year against Man City? Rodrigo came on in span of 2 minutes, scored 2 goals, bang, Real Madrid have beaten Man City and they're going through, right? So there's definitely that type of an argument to be made that Real Madrid, as I said, can score goals basically in a flash. And that for me is the biggest thing. If they score quickly the first goal, the team is gonna rally, the fans are gonna rally, and it's gonna be a very long day for Arsenal. As I talked about this as well, what Arsenal should do, I think they should try to slow down the game, as they tend to do a lot, and play to their strengths. Basically, keep possession, keep them frustrated, let them play without the ball and everything. Make them work for it. Because there are different ways to lose. Because if it's half-time and it's 3-0 Real Madrid, right? Let's be real, it's not a good game. As I said, there's definitely different ways you can lose the game. Definitely different ways you can lose the game. You can lose it in a fight, or you can lose it just basically by giving it away. And that is something I genuinely don't want to see. But I still stand by this. If we basically ball this and we don't go through, especially the performance we put out at the Emirates, how we played, the chances we had and we didn't take, I think Mikel Arteta's days should be numbered at Arsenal. I'm just going to put it that way. But hey, it is what it is. Everyone has their opinion, so we're going to allow it and see what it is from here to there. In Champions League currently, PSG are 1-0 up against Aston Villa, and I think since Hakimi has scored already in 11th minute, it's pretty much safe to assume that PSG are going through, and whoever wins, Arsenal or Real Madrid, who goes through, are gonna face PSG in the semi-finals of Champions League. Now, Borussia Dortmund have scored. Guirassy scored a penalty. Ironically, just like Hakimi on 11th minute, which is kind of nuts, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, it's 1-0, it's 1-4 on aggregate. I kind of don't believe that Borussia Dortmund could make a comeback in this instance. But, wait, sorry, my bad. But we definitely have seen some miraculous comebacks. Liverpool against Barcelona, Barcelona against PSG, and teams like that. Real Madrid has come back from being 2-0 down against Wolfsburg, then win 3-0 at the Bernabeu thanks to Ronaldo hat-trick and everything. We have seen comebacks before. And will we see one in these games? I don't think so. Could we see something like that tomorrow? Remains to be seen. But giving Real Madrid the heritage and everything, that is one thing I wouldn't put past them. I'm just gonna say it that way. Let's just say it that way. Well, yeah. I thought Partey is injured. Well, yeah, that was the initial thought because he got subbed off, forcefully subbed off against Brentford. But there were some questions under him. But today he was in training. He is training, let's be real, and he is flying with the team to Madrid. So that means it looks like he's ready, fit to go. Which is very good news for Arsenal, let's be real, because that Rice Partey double pivot definitely is something we couldn't afford to miss. Because having midfield of Rice and what's-its-face, Merino definitely would be 10 times more detrimental to Arsenal's chances of progressing through than anything. Big up Luther, big up. The game is tomorrow. Today we have these two games. Aston Villa versus PSG, which is 1-0 already, and Dortmund versus Barcelona, which is 1-0 to Borussia Dortmund. On aggregate, it's 4-1 Barcelona currently, and it's 4-1 on aggregate for PSG as well. Tomorrow, we have Real Madrid versus Arsenal, and we have Inter Milan versus Bayern Munich. Those two games we have tomorrow. Oh, big up. Glad to help. Anyways, after we touched down in the Spanish capital, which basically our team flew to Madrid today, Mikel Arteta sat down. He got whisked off to the Bernabeu for his pre-match press conference. Let's see what Mikel Arteta had to say before this game. He was asked about injuries in the camp, rightly so. The threat of Madrid comeback, rightly so, because those two things have been the biggest discussions what we have seen over the last since Brentford basically. The closer the Real Madrid game comes, the more we hear about potential comeback. What if it happens? What if not? I have seen Barcelona fans buying Arsenal shirts to piss off Real Madrid and get on their nerves, even at the stadium. Apparently they're going to be at Bernabeu, allegedly, but hey, it is what it is. Atletico Madrid fans doing the same. Alaves fans during weekend were also certain fans were having Arsenal shirts to annoy Real Madrid. So it's kind of nuts. It looks like only people who want Real Madrid to progress through are Real Madrid fans. It genuinely looks that way. Obviously, there might be Spurs fans and stuff like that, but in general consensus, based on the social media activity, it looks like that only Real Madrid fans are the ones that want Real Madrid to progress through. Rest of them are against them, are for Arsenal, which is quite funny, not gonna lie. So basically, what Mikel Arteta has to say. On team news, which is a massive one given the injuries. The positive one is Ben White. He managed to train with us today, so he will be in the squad. Thomas Partey is available. He had a knock in the game. That's why he had to come off. But he But he felt good after the last few days, so he is fine. Jorginho is out. That is 100% confirmed. He had breathing problems in the last 15 minutes of the game, and he's out for some time. Maybe it is a crack rib or what, I don't know. But if mid-game you land the way he landed, and straight afterwards it's very hard for you to breathe, there might be something to it. Let's just put it that way. Jorginho, unfortunately, is not here after the incident over the weekend. He hasn't recovered, so our thoughts are with him, which basically sounds, it's not looking good, brother. It's not looking good, bruv. Anyways, on how he will approach the game, given we are 3-0 ahead, which is massive, because if he balls this, sayonara. To win it. is the same as we did in London, our preparation for the game. The things that we have to do, the things that we have to dominate throughout the game in different phases to give us the best possible chance to win the game. That's clear, and our mindset and how we are going to play tomorrow. This is our only hope for a trophy. We are runners-up in the Premier League for the third time. And to be honest, the second place also is not guaranteed at the moment. That is the mad part. We are out of both cups. We must at least win the Champions League, which is a thing we haven't done ever in our history, which is kind of nuts as well. But let's be real. Finishing second in Premier League also still is not guaranteed, because we have 6 games to go. Obviously, if we, let's just say, go out of Champions League, right? Bear with me here. We're gonna yield our best 11s in Premier League, so hence we're gonna get some results, which means we're gonna stay in second place. However, if we get through in Champions League, it means that on some key times we will have to rotate before the Champions League game or after and stuff like that, which then means it could come very, very problematic for Arsenal in that regard, because if we look at Premier League table currently, here is the big thing. Arsenal currently are sitting second, right? Whoa, this is not the window I wanted to see. Here it is. Here it is. I'm gonna do this, then I'm gonna move it. I'm very sorry, it's kind of ghetto, but it is what it is. Here it is, basically. Arsenal are second with 63 points, right? But Nottingham Forest are 6 points behind, which Nottingham Forest has had a bit of a drop-off, so they might actually not catch us up. However, here is the big kicker. Newcastle currently are 7 points behind us. However, they have game in hand, which means if they win that game in hand, against Crystal Palace if I'm not mistaken, they are only 4 points behind us. And we still have to play Newcastle in the league. We still have to play them at Emirates. And so far, based on this season, we all have seen how Arsenal do against Newcastle. It's not a pre-watch. Let's just put it that way. Manchester City, it looks like they're starting to pick up potentially some sort of a form, a bit, maybe, and they are 8 points behind us, so it might not happen. But the biggest thing is Arsenal have to play some very bogey teams for them, like Southampton, Newcastle at home, Liverpool away. So definitely there are games where Arsenal could drop points, and that for me is the big issue currently, looking at the certain circumstances. Now, if I do this, right, and then I do this, does that look better or worse? It actually looks pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie. Let's go with this. Mikel Arteta press conference. Here we go. Does it look here? Oh, it's not in the middle. It's really gonna do my head in it. Okay, let's gonna do it this way then. But yeah. Definitely Arsenal have lots of things to think about in that regard. We must be focused to make Real Madrid lose their patience, basically. That's what we have to do. First things first, we need to make them frustrated. We need to make them play without the ball, control the game and pace of the game, which will be very hard to do at Bernabeu, I admit. But if you want to win and progress through, top teams are going to do that, and they need to do that, right? So basically, we need to, first things first 10 to 20 minutes, avoid conceding goal from Real Madrid, and then we can start to play our own game. Unless we start the game with our kickoff, then we can start do our thing. We're trying to keep the ball, keep possession, and not making stupid errors. Because one of the things that still bothers me is the fact that we still have this stupid mistake in us. As good as we have been defensively, right? Arsenal still has the tendency to shot themselves in the foot when it matters the most. Under big pressure, we still tend to fold. And to add on top of that, the fact that Mikel Arteta's record in second leg games in cups, where quite a bit is on the line, genuinely is something scary movies get written about. It's nightmare scenario. We all know how it went against Sporting, Villarreal, Olympiacos, Bayern Munich. Porto barely somehow scraped it on penalties. We all know how that went. Remember the replay, the second leg in the cup against Liverpool at Emirates when we drew 2-2 at Anfield, and Klopp pretty much yielded his under-21 team and beat us 2-0. It's not a pretty sight, let's just put it that way. we should meet PSG in the semifinals and Barca in the final. That would make sense. The thing is, Arsenal PSG, if we go through, right, will be very interesting. I'm quite more interested, to some extent, is the second duel, Barcelona versus PSG, because that will be basically good old Italian defense with the best defensive record in Champions League. Well, currently at least, with only 3 goals conceded through the whole competition, against the best attack in Europe, arguably, based on goals, based on how they play, and based on chances and how Hansi Flick wants to play football. So that will be very, very, very interesting. Because that could be very, very a nuts look. Let's just put it that way. Anyways, back to the press conference. On the key attributes we have to show in this game: the mindset to win, to be brave, to be dominant, to be determined, and to have the conviction that we can be better than them, and we believe. Believe. Justin Bieber settings, believe. On how he'll ensure the players don't get wrapped up in emotion. And that for me is a big, big thing. Wrapped up in emotion. Because you can play as many games away you want, but there are certain stadiums you physically and emotionally, psychologically, sorry, you cannot prepare for. Basically, that's how I see Bernabeu. That's one of those stadiums. And when you go out on that pitch, you see it, you feel it, and everything, then you know what it is, what it's all about, and how it could influence you, basically. That for me is how I see Bernabeu, and that is, I think, one of the biggest challenges for our players. The mental aspect of the game. Not to psych themselves out, not to basically lose their heads, and not to make, and sometimes, when it's applicable, stick to the basics. Don't make unnecessary errors. Don't think you are smarter than anyone else and in random occasion try to nutmeg someone or something like that. If in doubt, kick it out. Basically, stick to basics too many times. Let's just put it that way. I understand that. It's part of Madrid's history. They have earned the right to be talking about these kind of scenarios. Ours is very different in our mindset. Preparation on our thoughts, and we have on how we are going to have the best chance to be better than them. And is this a spelling error or what? This is a spelling error. Nobody proofreads this or what? Arsenal, hello? In aspects of the crucial in the game. Because they want to take the games to places very different to our intentions, and it's without a doubt it's going to have a difference in the game. On being able to create our own history. When you have to create a story, first of all, you have to be excited about it. You have to be really prepared about it. And then you have to be really convinced about what you want to achieve. Then it's about insisting and going step by step. Then it's been a lot to talk about history by doing it many times, trying many times, sometimes failing, sometimes being successful. The Bayern Munich experience, and with that one, we are going to be better this season. And apply that to reach the semi-finals, which will be only our 3rd time in the history of the football club. Big up Mikel Arteta, because with this statement, he's kind of showing some balls for a change. He's putting his nuts on the table, as Kenny Ken would say. And he is basically, in a way, saying that we have learned from Bayern Munich. And we're going to apply that, what we have learned, to reach the semifinals. And it will be only on the 3rd time in our history that we are achieving semifinals. So basically, to some extent, he's saying we're going to do it. Which is something I like, because one of the biggest critiques about Mikel Arteta in these interviews is the fact that he waffles a lot. He says lots of stuff without saying anything. And that's how basically about 70-80% of his interviews are. But in this instance, saying that we applied that to reach the semifinals, we're going to reach the semifinals, which will be the only 3rd time in history, I like the directness. I like that he's actually showing some ambition for a change. Otherwise, he just dilly-dallies around the point without saying anything. Let's just put it that way. On whether our players have shown enough heart and guts this season. There are three main aspects in the game. Physical, technical, and tactical. And the emotional. Physical, technical, tactical, emotional. He said there are three main aspects of the game and proceeds to name four. I guess math is not his strong suit, I think. But hey, that emotional aspect is very significant because I have a lot of reassurance from what the team has done all season in a positive context, and it's very difficult context. That's probably the pathway and why those things happen. So to prepare for semi-final... What semi-final? Like this, and not to be convinced that we can handle any situation, we are going to enjoy actually playing any kind of game, that's what we have to withstand tomorrow. It's quarterfinals. Mikel, it's quarterfinals, not semifinals. Why is he talking about this? So to prepare for semifinals like this, we are in quarterfinals. But the fact that he's already, like he said also here, he's gonna apply Bayern Munich experience to reach semifinals only for the third time in Arsenal's history, and he is already preparing to set for semifinals with what he's stating here. Kind of like that, I'm not gonna lie, but remember, you are still in quarterfinals and it's Real Madrid, so don't get too cocky. And if we've done anything differently to prepare for this game, hopefully every game we do it differently. It would be very boring for 70 games to play the same plan and the same scenario for the players. It's very ironic that he says this, because the whole season we have seen the same thing from him. Same games, same scenarios, same tactics, same substitutions, same old. Basically, same shit, different toilet. That's what we are seeing. Very ironic that he says this stuff. So it's a different context to the first leg than it's the past. We take learnings from it, some very good, some others that we have to do still better than we did in London, and then have the capacity to have the intention to take the game where we want and be able to adapt quickly to any other kind of scenario to take the game where we want. Again, okay, cool. On blocking out the external noise, it's impossible. Let's be real. Blocking out social media and crap like that is impossible. Outside, no, we can't do it on the pitch. We can't do it on the pitch. No, I understand it's a narrative that it's going to give the feel to them. Let's be real, it is gonna. On our resilience, we have shown in the past few years that we have to do it again. It's over 472 days. Raw. That we have not conceded 3 times in a game. But it doesn't matter. We have to prove it now in this context. That's the beauty of it. That's the challenge, and that's the great thing about sport. We have shown that we are capable of doing it, and that has to give us reassurance, confidence that we can do it again, basically. Now let's talk on the pitch and do it on the pitch. It's only thing that matters, basically. And if we fear Real Madrid coming back, asking some real questions here for a change. I wouldn't use that word. I think it's respect and admiration. Well, waffle begins again for what they've done in the competition as a club over the years, the history they have, the values they defend. It's unbelievable, amazing, and inspirational for any coach, any manager, any team. But after that, it's the competition. It's what we are going to face tomorrow, and a position that we know very well, and that we are determined to go there and try to win the game. Well, you better win it. On if Declan Rice has been practicing his free kicks, well, he has. And if he can create any more of those moments, that would be amazing. It was a great moment. I think the third goal as well was beautiful to watch. A very collective goal. To be honest, Merino's finish was actually quite sublime. Havertz definitely skies it in row Z, or misses the shot. When you come to this stage, you're going to have big team moments, big individual moments, and that's the time to do it on the pitch. And let's be real, in Champions League, many times you will see these things. Sometimes not even the best team wins, because there have been Champions League winners where the best team hasn't won it. But there are times when even in some of those worser teams, per se, if we can put it in that context, they have players who can have these big moments individual moments that basically decide the game. It can come out of nowhere, it might be your star player who knows, we all know he can do it, or it can be some random guy who just basically, it clicks for him and he does it. But basically, many, many times, these type of games get decided by big moments, big situations, moments of brilliance, which basically, if you don't have in your team, you're not gonna get too far. And if getting into semi-final would be his greatest achievement as a manager so far, I think it's excitement rather than nerves. What we talk about creating, it's all about the history, that we have never won the competition and we're trying to do something consistently we can start to dominate the Europe competition. We have to earn the right tomorrow to do that on the biggest stages. To be honest, it's arguably the biggest stage. It doesn't get any better than this, and I think we have a real opportunity for that too, to be honest. He's not wrong. On if we have what it takes to win. We have tried to repeat the opposite message of the potential comeback. So in the brain of the players, where they have been in the last 72 hours is something completely different, and we are very close to them, and hopefully they are more powerful than anything else. But again, you have to be out there, you have to experience it, you have to feel it, you have to go through it, and that's what we have to do tomorrow. And this is a big thing. What this Mikel Arteta says, you have to go through it, because besides Martin Odegaard, pretty much none of our players know what it takes to play at Bernabeu. What's it like to play at Bernabeu? The atmosphere, the aura, the feeling, the fans, the pitch, the stadium itself. Like, they don't have the faintest idea. What's it like? How it feels? They haven't got that experience. And in games like in competition like this, in games like this, it plays a massive, massive role, which many times by many people gets basically, it goes under the radar and doesn't get highlighted enough to a certain extent. On Rice's attacking prowess, I think he's creating the story with us, and those moments are going to be on our history for a while. Yeah, to be honest, those 2 free kicks are gonna get talked about for quite some time, especially the way he did it, in the manner he did it, and the way he tried, which is really rare. So it's about creating more, and now I think he's going to have believed that he's capable of delivering those kind of moments more and more. And that's something very important, because if he believes more, it's going to happen more often. And to be honest, yeah, speak it into existence. Trust it, speak it, and work on it. Let's be real. That's how it all works. But yeah, I think now we have come to this point where we gonna do the starting 11. Because I think it's pretty much straightforward, in my opinion, how the starting 11 should look like. I'm not gonna lie. So definitely, if you have any other suggestions, leave them down in the live chat or comments below. But I think the starting 11 kind of picks itself out. It's very straightforward without too many questions, because as I said, winners don't change their teams. So I think it would be quite foolish for Mikel Arteta to do so. There is only one position I am a bit worried about. So that is the case. Thomas Partey, Declan Rice. Obviously, Odegaard is gonna start to some extent, unfortunately, but he needs to start stepping up at some point, hopefully at least. Yeah, and this is basically the players that pick themselves out. The only question mark is for the left-sided center back. Do we go with Kivior or do we go with Ben White? For me personally, and I cannot believe to some extent I'm saying this, but I think he deserves it, it's Kivior. Because Kivior stepped up big time against Real Madrid. Let's just say it as it is. He had a few shaky moments in the early stages, but he pulled himself together, and since those 2-3 moments he had in the early stages of the game, he was quite immaculate. Let's just say it as it is. And given the situation, how even though he has had some decent performances overall, he's been partially or largely, depending how you look at it, at fault. The way we played, that he we concede goals, it's a bit of a rough one, isn't it? because I still remember as he was tying his shoelaces, as we concede, he got lobbed by when we played Liverpool at the Emirates in 2-2, and as well, when was it when he played center back? It was in 1-1 draw against who we played. I don't know. It wasn't Fulham. Maybe it was Yeah, it was Brentford. I think he could have covered him quick. No, it wasn't Brentford. It was someone else. Fulham. I think it was Fulham. Yeah, he could have covered the winger quicker. But yeah, overall, I think I'm gonna go for Kivior. And yeah, as weird as it sounds, as I said before, there is sort of unwritten rule in many sports that the winner don't change their teams. And this has worked before, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's be real. If you have a winning formula in front of you, why would you try to change it? Like, if it starts falling flat on its ass, right, then you can start and maybe tweak some things around here or there. But ultimately, that would be my starting 11. That would be my starting 11. Because there is no other way. There is nobody else we can put in the team. Let's just say it as it is. There's no other players we can put in the team. Maybe we can put Tierney as the left back. That is one option. Besides that, there is nothing else we can do. I know some people want to see Ben White, some people want to see that, but hey, it is what it is. Oh, big up Aaron. Big up Aaron. Big up, big up, big up. Are you nervous about tomorrow? Are you nervous about the comeback? If you haven't already, by the way, go subscribe. Aaron Talks Arsenal. Top guy, top lad, not a top gooner, so thumbs up and everything. Go subscribe. But yeah, it's kind of nuts. It is kind of nuts. I'm just sitting here and thinking, this starting 11, like, is there any place we can improve? Like, serious talk in this instance. The only way I can see this is Tierney as a left back, but that's about it. There's no other way we can do any other predicted 11 with any other players changed. Obviously, Kwame wanted to see Ben White. Kwame wanted to see Ben White at center back, which is quite interesting given that he hasn't played pretty much at all, and he was injured once again a week ago, and he didn't play against Everton as well. So this is kind of a nuts. This is kind of a nuts one. Why can't we go 5 at the back? We could, but the biggest issue with that is the fact that we haven't played 5 at the back, well, or 3 at the back, depends how you look at it, since basically Arteta took over. He played that for half a season when we won the FA Cup, and he has never reverted back to it since. And now changing the formation, basically, to a different one, which requires different tactics and different player communication and different scenarios, how we defend, which spaces we cover and do everything, actually, in my opinion, would do more harm than good. Because we, to some extent, have a blueprint how to play against Real Madrid based on Emirates game, right? So we need to tweak that to basically cater our needs given the current result. That's how I see it. I think that going with the 5 at the back actually would do more harm than good. I'm pretty nervous for the tie still, only because I've seen us. Yeah, I still think we will go through, but I'm nervy, not gonna lie. I totally understand that, because I think we're gonna go through, right? The thing is, though, Real Madrid has the ability to score 2-3 goals genuinely in matter of seconds. Let's just put it that way. Matter of seconds, what it feels like. Like Rodrigo did against City in about 4 minutes in the 90 plus 2, 90 plus 5. He scores 2 goals. Instantly, Man City are out of Champions League. They have the ability. And I think the game also kind of very solely is going to rely, to some extent, not fully, but to some extent, on who scores the first goal. I know it sounds very obvious. I sound like Michael Owen at the moment, right? But if Real Madrid score in first 10-20 minutes, the crowd is gonna get behind them, and it's gonna be long. It's gonna be very, very long night at Bernabeu. And the worst part is that if they score early, I'm gonna be behind these chairs sitting and watching the game through these holes. Genuinely sitting and watching through these holes because the legs not only for me the legs will start to shake, putting it, let's just say it metaphorically, but also for the players. Because for them playing at Bernabeu under these lights, it's gonna be a whole different experience, something they haven't never experienced before. Bellingham said it's a night made for Madrid. Exactly. Like Bellingham said it, Mbappe said it, Vini said it. They all said it's not over. Ancelotti had a serious talk with the team, demanding extra fight, extra effort, and everything. And it's gonna be nuts. It's gonna be nuts tomorrow. Big up Pepper. Big up. Every player again has to be on top tier game. Odegaard is the one that needs to wake up the most. Odegaard is the one that basically needs to wake up the most. Because also in the first game, I can basically give 8, 9 out or 10 even performances to every single one besides Martin Odegaard, ironically, who is our captain. He stunk out the place to some extent. He kind of was the black sheep of the team. And that for me is not the captain's performance. And now that I watch Zinchenko play as a number 10 against PSV and against Everton, and he does even better than Odegaard has done it almost the whole season combined and in those 2 games, there are many questions that need to be asked. That is the big thing. Yeah. Odegaard has played for Madrid. There should be something in him that he wants to prove them wrong. That they were wrong to sell him. They were wrong to let him go. That they were not patient enough with him. And not patient enough, basically. They did not give him enough chance. But based on the first game, besides running, didn't see too much. Yeah, Ancelotti is not playing around anymore. Definitely. Yeah, he needs... Exactly, he needs captain's performance. He needs that game to lead by example. And this is actually, to some extent, the prime time to do it. It's Real Madrid. It's under the lights. It's the big thing. Like, I don't know. The biggest issue is if we somehow manage to ball this, if we somehow manage to do it, oh bloody hell. Let's just put it that way. Oh bloody hell, it's gonna get heated. Odegaard better be on his game to get his... Yeah, exactly. You would think at Emirates he would want to do that as well, but he didn't do that. That for me is the biggest issue. If he stinks out again, he must be hooked at half time. We're gonna be carrying people at the... Exactly. Where was it? Where was it? It was on Lee's stream, I think. Yeah, it was on Lee's stream yesterday. Right? With Jazz and everyone else. DJB. Big up them, by the way. They basically looked at Martin Odegaard, and over his career at Arsenal, in Premier League specifically, if I'm not mistaken, he has played for Arsenal 140 something games, and he's being hooked off about 40% of those. Nearly 50%. Nearly half the games he's been hooked off. That is not a captain I want. Oh yeah, if he's playing like crap, I agree. Exactly. Like, this is something like, basically, Odegaard at the moment is like Havertz for us. He runs around, he attacks the spaces, he runs, he presses, and but look how he's pressing, but look how he's invading space and running and getting the ball. That is a nuts one in that regard. And to be honest, I'm still pissed off that he kind of ruined the game for us against Everton, because Zinchenko in the 10 was doing a quite good job. As soon as he came on, everything fell apart to some extent. Well, obviously, Arteta needs to take massive part of that blame, but hey, here we are. Odegaard better not... Exactly, better not, because again, everyone is gonna be on his case. 58 times subbed off as permanent player, 5 times as a lone player, 63 total subbed off. Yeah. 30, he has played 189 games and he's been subbed off exactly in 33% of those. Isn't that telling something? Exactly 33. Every third game he gets hooked off. Bloody hell. That is a nuts one. And even when he was subbed off 5 times as a lone player, I think he played about 9 or 10 games in that season alone, right? So he basically got hooked off 50% of the games he played. That's even worse to some extent. And it's usually stinker and hooked. And the worst, I kind of look at this and think that Odegaard is too comfortable in his position because he knows that he can drop stinker almost every single time, and we have nobody to replace him with. I think that is the biggest thing. He's the captain. He's basically one of the adopted child of Mikel Arteta and everything, right? And that for me is the one. I kind of believe that he's too comfortable because he tends to drop too many stinkers these days. And to some extent, I kind of think Arteta hasn't signed another number 10 solely just so he doesn't put too much pressure on Odegaard because he wants to protect him. But sometimes protecting means tough love to some extent, and Odegaard definitely needs that. Kind of feel that way. Yeah, Arsenal should defend well. Big up Sadiq, by the way. Arsenal should be defending well because that is one thing we actually can do because we already looked at this stat, but this stat specifically. I know stats mean nothing because it's only on paper, but let's be real. On second lowest goals conceded per game, only Inter has less. And least amount of XG, least amount of shots, least amount of shots on target. They speak for themselves, don't they? The biggest thing is, I would say 95% of those stats are achieved with Gabriel at center back. That for me is the biggest drawback into everything. Because if we had Gabriel in this game specifically, I wouldn't be as nervous as I'm right now. Because Kwame is already saying this, Kivior is a disaster waiting to happen. To some extent. Because, he had a fantastic performance, right? Very good performance at the Emirates. But in the first, 5-10 minutes, he screwed up a few times. And those were some chances Real Madrid might actually take advantage of at Bernabeu. Let's be real. There were some chances. And Real Madrid also didn't create that much against us at the Emirates as well. It was solely based on our mistakes. Which means that if they start to create themselves, then it's a big, big problem. My camera is doing a bit of a mazza here. Sorry. Yeah, we need to somehow stop Madrid. But I think Ancelotti also will do something unique for this game. I really don't believe he will go with the same 11 he went previous game. Let's be real, he's not going to play, let's just say, Alaba as a left back and Bellingham as a left mid. Because that totally disrupts the balance of Real Madrid's midfield and the attack. Right? Will they play Vasquez as a right back? If they do, Martinelli should have a field day out there. Let's just put it that way. But will he? Who knows? Genuinely, who knows? But overall, yeah, Camavinga is not playing. Tchouameni is back. Obviously, Rudiger, Asensio, Courtois in goal. Midfield is the big question. Who are they going to put in the midfield? Attack is kind of given that it's going to be Mbappe and Vinicius. The question for me, though, is I kind of can see Ancelotti dropping Rodrigo and let's just say putting Brahim Diaz on the pitch to help with the creativity part of the game because they were definitely lacking creativity in the first game. So if they do that and Rodrigo comes off the bench, it's quite big for Arsenal in that regard. And even and speaking of the bench, by the way, Real Madrid have players they can sub on to impact the game. Right? Think about it. There's Endrick, Brahim Diaz, Arda Güler. Of course, we just spoke even if Rodrigo doesn't start and Rodrigo off the bench. They have the players who can change the game. Dani Ceballos, by the way, might be playing even. Which is a big, big, big plus for Real Madrid in this regard. And when I look at Arsenal's team, who is going to come off the bench to impact the game, I basically I'm struggling to name even one. I can say Trossard, but Trossard basically is as unpredictable as the weather. He can be hot, he can be cold. Who knows what Trossard we gonna get? We can get still our drunk Trossard on the pitch. We can get very good Trossard. Like we saw, arguably one of the best Trossard's games this season against PSG at home, right? Ironically, PSG are playing right now. Then we look at then maybe Ethan Vanieri, but go figure. He's also young. He might psych himself out. Who knows? Like out of out, if I look at bench, who Sterling is gonna come on and change the game. We don't have Jorginho because he is out. I don't know, cracked rib or what, but he couldn't breathe after during Brentford game, so that is a big miss. As weird as it sounds, it's a miss for the sub in the midfield. Because if we start Merino as a striker, it means we have, besides Zinchenko, nobody to sub on in the midfield. And now imagine if this game for some reason goes to extra time. Extra half an hour to play. Our players will be literally dead. They will have no legs into them. And then it's prime time for Ancelotti to unleash someone like Endrick, for example, to basically just run. Take the ball and run, and they won't be able to keep up with you. They might start cramping up or something. Like, that is one of those parts of the game I really am scared. Because let's just say even if it's 2-0 Real Madrid, right? And we need someone, let's just say, to have an outlet in the attack or someone to see out the game. We kind of are struggling for those, aren't we? Yes, we can sub off Skelly for Tierney or stuff like that. But besides that, Ben White can come on, but who knows what form is he in? Because he, again, is injured, is not injured, go figure. And that's it. Who we gonna, like, I don't know who we gonna sub on. That for me is the big thing. Tomorrow night, get your Chinese, Tanadori, etc. because we go through. I hope we go through. I genuinely hope we go through. Because can you imagine this fan base if we don't? Like seriously, if we don't go through, can you imagine the madness? Like seriously, it's insane to say the least. Anyways, predictions for the game. Been waffling too much, it kind of feels like. PSG 2-1 up. Ooh. Villa have managed to score. Tielemans scored, made it 2-1. And Nuno Mendes scored, made it 2-0. 2-1, 5-2 on aggregate, so PSG pretty much are guaranteed to be in the semi-finals. Second half just begun at Borussia Park against Barcelona. Still 1-0 Barcelona, 4-1 on aggregate. Solid 11 from Barcelona, nothing too much. They need nothing from this game, it's 4-0. So yeah, I kind of see and kind of get it why. But yeah, predictions for tomorrow's game. Predictions for tomorrow's game. I actually have no idea what way to go. Because I think we're gonna go through, right? I genuinely strongly believe, well not strongly, but I believe we're gonna go through, right? But I can see us losing this leg. Let's just put it that way. I can see us losing 2-1, 3-1, something like that. But I think overall, over 2 legs, we're gonna go through. That's how I see it. The result, I don't want to predict whatsoever. Genuinely, because like I already mentioned 2-1, 3-1, I don't know. I think we have a chance at scoring because Real Madrid at home still can be got at, right? But I think that the sheer desire for Real Madrid basically to claw back, I don't want to say some respect, but to claw back some goals so it's not like 3-0, so they lost without throwing up a fight to some extent. And Arsenal, even if they managed to score and it's 1-0 Arsenal at Bernabeu, right? So it's 4-0 on aggregate. They will do everything possible to try and score, right? So I think they gonna score. Just the question is how much, because I see Arsenal scoring. So I hate this. I think on aggregate we're gonna go through. That is what I'm saying. But specifically for this leg, I don't know. Like, I'm sitting here thinking I genuinely have the faintest idea. Like, usually I have some sort of a feeling in my head or my stomach. I can think of things over. But this is very uncharacteristic situation for an Arsenal fan. Because we have played Real Madrid once, and that was 2 decades ago, pretty much. So I don't know what to expect. Screw it. I'm going 1-1 Arsenal. 1-1 Arsenal. I'm going for a 1-1 draw in the second leg and 4-1 on aggregate. That's what I'm going with. That is my prediction for tomorrow's game. So let me know your predictions in the chat or in the comments down below if you're watching this as a playback. But yeah, I kind of think we have covered everything. We didn't manage to talk about transfers as it states in the title, but we're gonna do that maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow. I have a separate stream also scheduled in near future. Not Friday, because Friday I'm actually going out with friends, which means I need to pre-record a video for Friday, so I'm gonna do that. So most likely Saturday we're gonna talk about potentially Odegaard, depending on how we play and how the game goes. But we will definitely have a stream where we separately talk about Odegaard, how he plays, and whether it's time to move on, find a replacement, or at worst sign another number 10 and try and light up a spark up his ass. Pause. So we're gonna talk about that. When does Arsenal play in Premier League? Because these things I tend to forget. Like, for me, league at the moment is so insignificant. And the worst part is we might not even finish second, as weird as it sounds. Arsenal play on Sunday? Yes, Sunday, 2 p.m. kickoff, Ipswich away. Oh, bloody hell. Not looking too good, is it? Oh, Borussia Dortmund scored 2-0. Yo, Borussia Dortmund on the comeback. Guirassy scored again. What is Barcelona doing? Holy crap. Like, serious talk. I'm not even messing around. 2-0 Borussia Dortmund. The comeback is on 4-2 on aggregate. One more goal and it's squeaky bum time for Barcelona to some extent. Holy crap, didn't expect that. But yeah, anyways. Tomorrow no stream, obviously, since Arsenal play. Unfortunately, but that's how I have to roll. Cannot kind of do a 2-hour stream and stuff like that. So it is what it is. But yeah, I'm gonna see you on Thursday. Hopefully Arsenal have gone through and they haven't screwed it up. Because specifically second leg results, how we perform in the second legs, and the track record for Mikel Arteta specifically in the second leg, is nightmare levels, as I said. Let's be real. The Olympiacos, Sporting, Bayern Munich, Liverpool in the Cup, the replay. Not even talking about Newcastle, barely scrape past Porto on penalties and everything. It's definitely something nightmares get told about for the kids around when they sit around campfire and all that stuff. But yeah, I think on that note, I'm gonna end today's stream. I'm predicting 1-1. Hopefully it's better, but I'm predicting 1-1. But yeah, for today, I am out. So take care, stay safe, try and stay calm tomorrow, specifically, let's just put it that way, and see you guys on Thursday for match review, match reaction, and hopefully it's a positive one. Peace.